and Jax.
Speaks. Girl,
How are you doing
I'm
today?
good. I like your kings.
Oh, I like your kings too. Actually, this
Mm,
this one is my favorite. I like him.
okay, and I think which way am I pointing? This way, this way. I want that for Christmas. Can I?
Oh,
Can I?
okay.
Can
I'm
I?
gonna wrap it up. I'm gonna wrap it up with a pretty red bow just for you.
Ooh, boy. All
So, how
righty.
are you
So what's
doing
going
this week?
on? I asked first. I'm good. I'm good. I'm good. I'm good. I'm good. You know what? I'm good because we should be good. And we should be saying that. Even when we're bad, we should be saying we're good because somebody else needs to be picked up. Girl, how were you this week?
I'm good.
Yeah, see, you learn quick. And I say that because
Oh,
two of our friends really had some difficulties. I don't know. I know I told you about one. I know I told you Stacy, who we had on the show 2 weeks ago. One of her sons was in a
mhm.
really awful car accident. He's fine, but the trauma that poor family went through all of it, and I'm just so glad that he's okay and everybody is okay. And the car, we can buy a car again, but so glad that he's intact.
Yes.
So prayers and blessings to them. And then there is our dear friend James, who he had a medical situation, and our age, it's family. We have to really take care of ourselves. Make sure you eat properly, get the right amount of rest and exercise. If you're on medication, take your medication, and go to the damn doctor, please, because there are certain things that can be caught in advance or seen in advance. So take care of yourselves. But he's better now. He's out of the hospital, and um, so that's why I say, I'm just grateful to be alive and inhaling and exhaling. And we've managed to get through this COVID thing.
Mhm.
And
So far.
are you? Did you get your vaccinations yet?
I have not received my vaccinations yet, but I am under the impression that things are opening up right now as far as the limits. They have now gone, I think in New York State, they have gone, if it's not 50 and over, I think they're about to open it up to 50 and over. So
Yesterday.
I'm patient. I'm being patient. I've never taken a flu shot before. Um, and it's not that I won't take the vaccine, but I'm just patient. I'm just waiting my turn because it'll
Mhm,
be there for me when it's time for me. So
mhm,
um, that's opening up. That's a good thing. It looks like Biden has made his first promise of 100, what was it, 100 million vaccinations
mhm,
before May, and we're on track for that. Um, there's been some sort of, I don't want to say distressing, because we need people to realize that getting vaccinated is only going to help us towards herd immunity and hopefully getting back to normal. But AstraZeneca had a few problems with their vaccine, and they're trying to straighten that out now, and they need to, so that people don't have more concerns and worries about it. But what I wanted to talk to you guys about were the stimulus checks, but not really the stimulus checks, more about the child credit.
mm,
My Yeah, my little grandniece, her mom was trying to figure out how that child tax credit was going to work. And initially, I thought that maybe it would be a thing that you would be able to write off your taxes at the end of the year or something of that nature. But I have heard that these families will be getting payments every month for their children. So this should hopefully really help to bring some people that are living at the poverty line up above that poverty line. I mean, it's not going to be a permanent thing, but at least for the next year, families with children will be getting not a tax credit, not an end of the year thing, but a monthly payment towards that child. And I'm just hoping that number one, it materializes, and number two, that it really helps those that need it. I believe the lower 60% of wage earners, the wealth line, the lower 60% are supposed to benefit from this. So, it was passed, thankfully, through Congress and the Senate, even though most of the GOP did not, well, actually, none of the GOP voted for it. But, the Democrats
We're
are
not
trying
surprised.
to, we're not surprised. They're trying to live up to the promises that they have given us. And so far, so good. The only other thing in the news that is distressing at this moment is just the way the big lie keeps continuing to circulate. And I just want to put a warning out there. It may seem like none of this affects you on your day-to-day, that this issue is so much bigger than what you're focusing, but America and Americans, we are in a very, very, very critical moment here. I saw a map recently of autocracies versus democracies in the world. And the first map, I think it was from the 1990s or so, showed about 20% of the world under autocracies. And the recent updated map shows about 60% of the world in autocracies. I saw a documentary on Haiti the other day. Complete lack of rule of law. And our people are dying. They are being burned. It's so distressing how fragile our democracy is right now. You have the Republicans really trying to suppress our vote. Not in general, the votes of people of color around this nation. The day after the January 6th insurrection, Republicans were working to pass bills to limit voting rights for people of color. So I would just cry out to all of you in whatever state you are in, make sure you know what is going on. Make sure that you fight against these Jim Crow era laws. And let's make sure that come 2022, we are all able to freely vote the way we have fought so hard for these rights. And that's about where we are right now. That's what's on my mind. Those are the two issues that are.
Wow.
I tell you what.
Wow.
If the former guy, if the former guy did any one thing for me that I can praise, it's the fact that he made me more politically aware. And for that, I'm grateful. I go to my little town hall meetings. I make sure, because it starts at the local level. Your vote at the local level goes all the way up to the federal level. So do not dismiss what goes on in your locality.
I am
And that's it.
blown away. That's a mouthful, Jax. I mean, normally this is our lighter segment. That was powerful. We can actually, we're done now. Wow.
We're done.
That was
So
okay. So here's the deal. We got to do a whole show on everything that you just talked about. The tax credit thing I didn't know about. I didn't know that it was shaped in that way. I thought it had a whole different character to it. So thanks very much for that. And I'm sure it helped the family in hearing that as well. So we maybe need to, after the Easter show, do some more research and come back with a bigger breakdown on that. That's powerful. Thanks so much.
Yeah, because
Usually,
I would like to know if families with children are actually getting these monthly payments, because that's what
yeah,
it's all about.
yes. And to your last point, 45 did cause me. I mean, I was always politically inclined, but he really, you had to get up every day and check to see if we were still alive, and he hadn't pushed the button yet. So he made us all sit up straight when it came to politics. So
There you
let's
go.
put it where it is. At least we're all more aware. So yeah, that I'm still trying to get past all of this, but okay. Here's the thing. What's this week's show? I'm so staggered by what you just said. Where are we? We're in
So this this week we want to know. We want to know. We finally want to know. What is it that men want?
mm,
What do you want? But before we find out what men want, should we tell the people where they can hear us
yeah,
talk
let's do
about?
that. Let's do that.
So if you're watching us live, you may be watching on Facebook Live, but you can
Ooh,
also find us on iHeartRadio, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts. You can also check us out on YouTube, TuneIn, and Anchor, Breaker, Radio Public, Twitch, and Stitcher, Overcast, and Pocket Cast. Now, if they want to get in touch with us via email or anything, where should they go?
okay, well, as if we didn't give them enough to contact us on, because you guys can type on all of those platforms that she just said. And if you go to YouTube, do the right thing, click the little bell, subscribe to our channel, and also jump over to jaxology.com, because that's Jack's page, and all of the wonderful stuff that you see during the commercial times and the little segments with the food that you guys are always harassing me. What's she cooking? She keeps them on there for safekeeping too. And there's a lot of fun stuff. So jump over to jaxology.com, type your comments, let us know how you think we're doing. And once again, if that's not enough for you, we're on IG at ESP Real Talk. We're on Twitter at Speaks ESP. If you want to send us an email, you can send it to esp at espspeaks.com. And you can also send us one at espspeaks at gmail.com. We also have a phone number, but we don't want to hear from you yet. Yes, yes, we
Don't
actually
want
do.
anything. I think we have some call-ins for this show today, don't we?
Yes, we have some Zoom ins for this show because during the week, I put up our normal poll post, and the post was, what do men really want? And I really got some, yeah, I got some shocking. There were like 53 posts. This was the highest rated post within the first 2 hours. We got 53 hits on this post. I've never seen a post take off like this. It was like, I said, here's some free money, come get it. It was crazy. And they weren't sometimes when you put up a post like this, you get some really off the wall comments. They were genuine. The men that answered were genuine. Even the women who came on to see what was going on were very kind and sweet and genuine, and nobody argued like the post that I put up 2 weeks ago,
Nice.
and everybody was fighting, and I had to mute people, and just it was crazy. But this was pretty interesting. I'm going to read a couple of them. I'm not going to read all of them because we have some, as you said, some call-ins, and I don't want to rush them on the phone. Usually we put a time limit when we do the call-ins, but I just want to let them vibe out on what they're doing. We have one from KW. He said, wow, this is a great question. I want to be loved and respected. I want to be held accountable when I do wrong, and I want to be valued when I do right. I will get in trouble for this, but obey if it's within God's will. Obey does work in a relationship. You have to understand that that individual is a pastor, so that's kind of carved into his scripting, his life scripting, where obey is a part of the relationship guideline. So I respect that. Then we have Ra, who actually I think he was going to. Should I read his because he's going to zoom in later? He was one of the first ones to ask for the Zoom code. So should I read his? Okay. He said, real men want the ability to be men. They want to be leaders and providers and have no problems doing it. We also want to end the false narrative of this era. The foolishness of this society deems, the foolishness that this society deems as our manhood. And you know, I saw that and I couldn't just leave that sitting there. So I asked him to kind of expound on the foolishness thing. So he didn't get a chance to write back to me, but I have this to the side. So when he calls in, I'm going to ask him about that. Then we have DJ Faze. You know, DJ Faze is one of our avid listeners, and he has a show as well. He's on at 12 noon, he's on at 3 o'clock in the afternoon, and he's on at 12 midnight. He's at DJ Faze at Periscope. He plays some really good music, but he plays to the oldies, so it's really kind of cool if you want to go back in time. So check him out. He's on Facebook and Periscope. He says, I want companionship. I want someone to live out my days and be comfortable together. I want someone who understands the word compassion and understands that we have to rely on our feelings. I thought that was kind of sweet.
It is.
Then we have FH, who I don't have permission to say his name. I think I only have half of the comment, but he says it's simple. Just listen to me, and then it's your choice to be a part of it and keep it moving. Crazy thing is if you do decide to listen and you have a selective train of thought or selective hearing, that totally goes against the criteria that I'm setting forward. So for the most part, when I read what was online, it was men speaking about previous issues. And they were now really trying to earnestly answer the question, which I thought was very, very special. Because normally when you put up a post like this, men don't answer, the women do. And the women get in and they're all defensive. Yeah, I want to hear what he has to say. But the women eased back. And the men really, really showed their softer side. They want compassion. They want respect. They want to be loved. And I would ask sub questions of, what is love to you? What is this to you? And they were very genuine with their feelings. But here's the thing, Jax. It was clear to me that a lot of these men were beat up. Now, I'm going to be fair because we're women and we like to, well, not us. I would like to believe that we're fair-minded. Women in a general context like to jump on the men and it's your fault and you did this and you did that. They took responsibility. Some of them, in my speaking to them offline, have really taken responsibility as to say, I know that I'm not 100%. I know that I have a lot more to learn. But for lack of a better term, and you know that I don't really step past this language line that I'm about to, stop being a bitch about everything. And we as women can be extremely passive aggressively bitchy when we're ready.
Mhm.
to these men. And it's basically because we have this built up frustration. And okay, before I even go any further, the number one rule in a relationship is you cannot bring your old relationship into the new relationship and expect to have a fresh, healthy start. Unpack your baggage before you decide to get into the relationship. If you're interested, but don't unpack it the very first day, because then we also have some sisters that are intent on getting married, and that's why they're trying to be the man, and they're more interested in planning a wedding and getting to the wedding before they are interested in meeting the man and developing and seeing what it is and developing a friendship. Because people don't get into friendships anymore, Jack. People start sleeping with each other overnight. Then the next week you meet them, they're a couple, and they can't understand why they've broken up in 2 months. You haven't gotten time to know each other. You haven't taken the time. I got news for y'all. For some of y'all, you don't have that much time anymore. And I'm not trying to kill you. That's not what I'm trying to say. And I'm not talking about COVID. But I am talking about some of the people who have answered on the board are pushing 55, 60, 65, even 70. Regardless of how long I'm going to be alive, if I've chosen to spend that time with you, I want as much as I possibly can. So, my advice to you as couples, my advice to you as individuals are work on yourself before you get involved with someone else. Make sure that you can live with you, because some of y'all can't even stand yourselves when you look in the mirror. And if you can't stand you, how do you expect me to stand you? Figure it all out before you're ready to come to the table and say, hey, I want to be with you. Both sides. Because you can't love anybody if you can't love you. You can't be in a relationship with no issues if you have your own issues and you know it. That's what, Jack, for. You know, you can jump in.
Mama Ruth says. Mama Ruth says, if you can't love yourself, how in the hell you gonna love somebody else? Can I get an amen up in here?
Amen up in here.
So it sounds like it really, based on some of the replies you got, sounds like we both want the same things. Now we got to figure out how to come to the table and put it together. Because as you said, you know, you can't walk into a new relationship with old baggage and expect things to work. So I'm really interested and excited to hear some of these call-ins and see what these men really, really want.
Okay. Well, here's what we're going to do then. We're going to do a couple of Zooms where we're just going to let them come in and let them talk. And why don't we take a commercial break first? When we come back, there's another segment that I want to deal with before we actually start Zooming them in, because there's a relationship aspect for a specific zone of our audience that I'd like to address. And because I can only speak to what I know. So I want to give them that piece when we come back. And then we'll go into the Zooms. And then we'll wing it from there. How about that?
Sounds good. So make sure you hang out. We'll be right back after this commercial break.
And the birds.
And the birds.
We'll see you in a minute on ESPN, Jack. Hang in it.
When we get hurt, no one tells us.
Lose the crutches. It's all in your head.
If someone is seriously ill, we don't say,
just feel less pneumonia-y.
So how is it that when
I'm not able to sleep at night?
I'm anxious all the time.
Drinking is the only way I can feel good these days.
Seems like I'm arguing with the people I love nonstop.
Or other issues related to our mental health, too many people pretend we can just
snap out of it.
Taking care of our mental health shouldn't be any different than taking care of our physical health. But let's be honest, there's still too much secrecy and shame around seeking help. The truth is, this affects nearly all of us. 1 in 5 adult New Yorkers are dealing with a mental health disorder every year. Now imagine a city where the path to taking care of your mental health is crystal clear. We're not just going to imagine it. We created a roadmap for mental health to make our city as healthy and as strong as it can be. The roadmap has 6 guiding principles. Change the culture. Let's make it easier to talk about our mental health. Act early. Investing in prevention gives New Yorkers the tools to weather challenges. Close treatment gaps. We need proven programs in every neighborhood and every community. Partner with communities. The wisdom of local communities will help us get to the most effective solutions. Use data better. Better data means better treatment, better policies, and better prevention. Strengthen government's ability to lead, because we have a responsibility to support your access to mental health. New York City is moving closer to the day when the path to mental health is clear for every New Yorker. Get involved. Find out more about the roadmap here.
Everybody was good is Jax, and I am here to show you how to make the most succulent ribs, okay? These ribs will make you smack your mama. I'm not gonna smack my mama. I wish my mama was here so I could smack her. But I wouldn't smack her. Come on, let's just get on with these ribs. First of all, you're gonna need a cookie sheet or some kind of flat baking pan. Then you're gonna need some saran wrap. So I used a little garlic, avocado oil, salt and pepper, and a seasoning called bourbon molasses because I wanted a little sweet with the heat, and the heat is gonna come from some cayenne pepper. Use any kind of seasonings you want, okay? Because you gotta eat it. Once you have wrapped your ribs in the saran wrap, you're gonna put them meaty side down. Let the bones face up. We're going to put them in a 250-degree oven for about 2 or 3 hours. You don't even have to check it. Put it in, walk away, go do what you gotta do. Now, I know what you're thinking. Wait a minute, Jax. You gonna put plastic wrap in an oven and it's not gonna melt? Guess what? No, it's not going to melt. I have been doing this now for years. It's the only way I cook my ribs. Some people like to parboil them first, but this is such an easy method. Once you put your ribs in the oven, do what you gotta do, make your side dishes or whatever, and we're gonna check them in about 2.5, 3 hours. I pull the ribs out of the oven, and I'm using my kitchen shears to cut through that plastic, and do you see all of that juice just melting out of there? Don't worry about it if you see all the juice on the pan, because there is still juiciness in these ribs. I used a thermometer to check the internal temp to make sure it was at 165 so that no bacteria or anything will get into my temple. Once they're unwrapped, put them on a foil lined pan and put your sauce on. Now, I made my own sauce. I can tell you some of the ingredients, but I'll do another video at another time and show y'all how to do that. But in my sauce, I put in my secret ingredient, some whiskey. Yeah, whiskey, no big secret. Fridays has been doing it for a while, but I really love the kind of sweetness that it brings to the sauce. And you can use any kind of whiskey you want, the best whiskey on your shelf, or you can go and get some cheap whiskey. But again, I'll show you how to make that sauce in another video. Once you put the sauce on one side, you're gonna put them back in a 350-degree oven for about 5 or 10 minutes. Use your eye. You'll know when that sauce starts to cook in. Remove them from the oven, sauce the other side, and put them back in for another 5 or 10 minutes. You're just trying to cook that sauce into the ribs, okay? The juiciness is intense. One thing you want to be careful of when you pick up the rack, be careful, because these are fall off the bone ribs. I kid you not. This is how I do my ribs all the time. And if I'm having a barbecue, I cook them this way. And then when people get there, I pull out the outdoor grill, put them on the grill, put the sauce on, and the ribs are done like that. People are not waiting 5 and 6 hours for you to finish up on the grill. I hope you enjoyed this slow cook method. And if you try it, you have got to let me know what you think. Because I think once you cook with this slow cook method, you'll never go back. You'll never, guaranteed. You can also do this with the regular pork ribs, and you can also do it with beef ribs. So that's all I've got for you this time. If you like this video, please make sure you give it a like. Don't forget to subscribe my channel and turn on the notification bell so you'll know when Jax is back with some more juicy goodness just for you. Now, in the meantime and in between time, y'all be good.
Last week, we had a really great show with Al Pizarro and his new book, which is Am I a Good Father? And it's funny, while I was on air with him and all of the activity and all of the wonderful stuff that he had to say, that show inspired this show, because I figured if we have such a great father who is willing to talk about all of the trials and tribulations he went through to raise his children and stay in a good relationship and make a good relationship, why not talk to the people who have really jacked up relationships, or who are always complaining about their relationships, or don't have relationships at all because they don't realize they're jacked up in themselves and that's why they can't hook up with somebody? Why don't we talk about it and see if we can do something about it? The reality is, we're in a society right now that has been catapulted into a whole different stream of thought because of a pandemic, because of a series of happenings during the summer. There's a lot more exposure because video cameras are consistently running. Let me get this straight now. It's not that these things weren't happening before. They were always happening. The difference is we're live streaming everything now. We don't have to wait for the newsmen to craft what the story is. The story is happening right in front of us. So people are really genuinely shocked about what they've been hearing all their lives because they're seeing it for the very first time. Now, having said that, you and we've been in shows where we've talked about what's happening in the world. But now, in listening to Al Pizarro in his book in last week's show, I said it's time to step back a little bit and address the whys as to why they are still happening, why certain things are still happening. I'm not talking constitutionally. I'm not talking politically so much as I'm talking about we need to stand face to face and look at each other as a people. We need to start right here and see what's here and then what's here and move forward. So we got to come back to ourselves. We have to come back to the family unit. We have to come to the reconstruction of the home, the reconstruction of the community. Then all of that filters out into the society. So now here's the shift, because I can only speak and you can only speak about what you know. We have now been labeled, I understand, the BICOP, or something by birth indigenous colored people of color or some crap. You know, when people don't want to take the time to say what the whole word is, they start developing these. Okay.
Don't get me started.
I know that's a pet peeve for you. I know. But what I did, you know, I have the poll every week. I started a poll. And I asked the basic question, because looking at our lives structurally as people of color, as indigenous people, as Asiatic Kushites, notice I didn't use the word Black, because we weren't called Black until we hit the shores of the United States of America. Black is a cattle breeding, horse breeding term. When they were developing the different colors and the tannage in horses, Black was a color that they used to call animals. And we, of course, to them in slavery were chattel and animals. So we then took on the name Black. But we are actually in Africa, we were called Cushites. Now, we can speak on that because that's what we are. I can't speak to any other race, religion. I can speak to what I am. As an Asiatic people, as a Cushite woman, as a descendant of kings and queens from the shores of Kush, which was renamed to Africa, I know that the basic unit of society starts in a matriarchal positioning who has respect for her patriarch, which is the king, who then nurtures and raises her family to become a developed part of a society, otherwise known as a village. And I realize we have to get back to that. We have to get back to the basics of that. And here's the breakdown. In the current society that we live in, it has been designed to take our people and scatter their thoughts and scatter their actions. In order to get help as a woman raising children, the husband, the man of my house cannot be in the house for me to get that help. If I want to receive social services, I cannot have the man who is the king of my household in the household. Utterly ridiculous. Okay, step one. So now they had made a design where the man of the house was consistently barotted and taken out of the house, whether it be by the penal system or whatever it was, in order to keep him out of the house. Most of our men were incarcerated for small offenses, offenses of which are $1 million corporations right now that they run, that powers that be run. Okay, that's a whole nother subject. Let me stick with where I'm at. So you can't function with the man in the house, but for us, we really can't function without the man in the house, because with male children, who are they going to have to look up to? With female children, where are they going to get that sense of security if there is no father there? So they've damaged our family unit, and they have forced us as women into a position of which we have to stand as the aggressor. We have to be the breadwinner. We have to be the protector. We have to be the nurturer. We have to be the caretaker. And as women, it's not that we're incapable of this. We are quite capable of this. But what position does that put us in when the man comes back into the circle? I'm a very aggressive and dominant personality. If I had to take on the responsibilities that I just talked about, Jax, you've known me for over 40 years. Do you ever see me step back and easily give over the reins to anyone?
No.
Unless they go through the paces of proving they deserve it?
Right. I think that's difficult for women in general, you know?
Now, let's take it to another level with that. It's not that we don't want to give over the reins, but guess what? You've been away for so long, you've been locked up for so long, your mindset has been altered for so long, because it's just a different form of slavery. You've been beat down mentally, you've been beat down physically, you've been told that you can't. So I wanted to open up the conversation for a better understanding, because our men think that we are consistently bucking them. It's not that we're consistently bucking them. It's we're trying to protect what it is that we had to work for. It's not that we're disrespecting what you have or have not, but we understand. All right, let me come back. In the conversation, because as I said, I put up a poll and I asked the men, what do you really want? I'm asking a serious question, fellas. What do you really want? Collectively, in the conversation, men have talked about they want respect, they want admiration, and they want peace. I can't respect you if you're not doing anything for you, for me, or your children. That doesn't mean that I don't want to, because when I offer help to you, you as a man can't take or receive my help because you're not feeling like a man. So tell me, if you don't feel like a man, and you know that you don't feel like a man, how do you expect me to treat you like the man that you want to be if you can't even see the man that you want to be in you? So, family, I just wanted to bring things into a more relaxed mode, because I found as I was talking to people, more and more people wanted to speak, and I just didn't want to be in the studio. So we're having a relaxed moment, and I'm talking to Z. So Z, what do men want?
Gosh, what do we want? Sometimes I feel like a lot of the things that we would want, how to answer that particular question, wow. Sometimes I think we don't know what we want, because so many times, so many instances, so many experiences are dictated to us by what our environment is. Who do we speak to? Who do we find relationship advice from? Who do we see, in regards to our parents and what their relationships are? What do we want? Coming up out of high school, coming up through life, everything up until college, a lot of what we want is based off of many other people's expectations. So to answer that question, I know that at this point I'm over 45, so I pretty much know what is it that I would like to be doing, where I've lived my life for everybody else in the beginning, but now I can actually live my life for myself. But that's based off so many things and experiences of figuring out what I don't want.
Well, maybe that's the course of action that people need to take. So let me ask the question in a different way. I asked, what do men want? Now let me ask, what is it that you need?
What do I need? Peace. We all want to have that moment of peace. But that the term peace is, again, it's depending on who you ask, it can carry a different meaning for any and all situations. I worked really hard in order to get to a point where I was financially stable, where I wasn't living check to check. But at the same time, I gave so much of myself to building up so many companies, building up everybody else's brand, that, getting a paycheck was great. But now it's like, I look back and I'm like, oh my God, I do travel, but I didn't travel as hard as I could have, as much as I wanted to see how the rest of the world is living. I'm not talking like back in our 20s, we go to Jamaica, Puerto Rico, or any of the places in the Caribbean, just so that we can, take a couple of pictures and show us on the sand. No, I'm talking like living amongst people in India, or going, I was blessed enough to have an opportunity to go to China. I walked on the Great Wall of China. I've been to the Emperor's Palace, right there in Beijing. So what do I want? What do I need?
Well, it seems to me in the course of your conversation, can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, great. It seems to me in the course of your conversation, it's more of your achievements, your personal achievements, which is wonderful, because you're a well-rounded individual. You're a tech giant in your field. You own your own, you have your own. Money is not elusive to you. You have gotten to a place in the corporations that you've worked for where you've gotten that level of respect, and you can feel like a man in what you're doing in terms of your finances. Did I get that correct?
By other people's standards, yes.
Okay.
Definitely by, see, again, that goes back to what I was saying earlier about, it's the definitions, it varies, but with who you speak with. In this particular case, everything that you just said, by other people's standards, that's what a man should do. A man should be able to be financially stable. He should be able to leave his house. He should be, that's what attracts a woman, is someone that is responsible. Is
it really? Is it Z? We've been friends
What?
for a million years. That really, don't forget who you're talking to. Is that really what motivates a woman in terms of her interest? Not a woman like me, and you know that.
No, definitely not like you. But unfortunately, again, look at what women listen to in regards to music, what they see on TV, what they are told to look for in a man as a standard in order to feel secure, to feel like he earned her somehow, or he has value or can bring value into her life. Or he needs to have this, or he should have this by this particular time. He should be, some people can go the spiritual route. He needs to be a man of God, and everything else provides, but beyond that. Or he needs to have a good job, a high-paying salary, or he needs to be able to bless you with gifts. So, again, don't get me wrong, what a 20-year-old wants versus what a 30-year-old needs versus what a 40 to 50-year-old woman is willing to put up with, it varies from one extreme to the next. So, but like I said, what do we want? Again, it's kind of trying to figure out who we are.
Okay, where did you go? Okay, so now.
You saw something that I was doing.
You keep... I'm not interested in what anyone else has to say other than what you have to say about you right now.
Okay.
Because I've watched you for years do all the right things, make all the right decisions, even when you thought they were wrong. Make all the right moves, even though you were sometimes unsure. You were never, ever afraid to go to the edge of that cliff and step off, knowing that you had a parachute, you had your hang glider attachment, and whatever other thrill-seeking thing that you had attached to you, you always had 3 different contingency plans, or at least you made us believe that you had the contingency plans. And you did it. And wherever you fell, because it was Z, it was good. And you always made something of it. And that's one of the things that I loved so immensely about you, because you never let things beat you down. You always got back up, no matter what happened. So, after all of that,
you know something funny about that statement? One of the things that I hated was someone telling me what I could not do. And that was literally the motivation that allowed me to live in that particular manner. It was literally like throwing coal on fire. It was throwing gasoline almost, to inspire me to run, to be as, play life as chess. And I only make moves when I know that everything is in my favor, for me to make that, to be able to take that step in that particular direction. And youth allowed me to do it, even if I didn't calculate all the different directions and avenues of what the outcome could be. but youth definitely fired that. One of the things, like, as a Black man, you know, that I was taught, and maybe this is, you know, maybe this is trauma, I don't know. But when speaking with my father, he basically told me, you don't talk too much about yourself to give other people ammunition to shoot you down. You just give just enough that they need to know the facts and keep it moving. So think about this. Think about it like this. To be in a friendship or a relationship with you, everything is going to be put on the table. Everything is going to be known, because that's the person you are. You're very inquisitive. We are, you know, there's a level of trust that's there that is shared between us that allows us to have that type of open conversation. But that's not an open conversation that I can have with everybody. And this is my comeback for certain reasons why I do not share too much, or I do not speak about my intricacies about my day. And I tried to explain this, but sometimes it just goes over people's heads. I tell people, if I'm having a bad day, I probably already spoke to one, maximum maybe two people, if even. And the reason why I do not discuss it by the time I get around to speaking to this particular person or any other particular people is because I find I don't like to repeat the story, because it mentally puts me back into that mindset that I was in, or that negative headspace that I was in when going through the situation in that particular moment. So once I deal with the situation, once I've already processed the situation and I am past it, then I'm happy again. I'm great. I'm having a wonderful day again. But if you're going to stop and I have to tell this particular person or this particular person, my family, the neighbor's dog, I mean, you know, it feels like I'm reliving that moment every single time I have to explain that story, which is why I do not share so much about a negative moment in my life every single time. So that's why again, I only tell enough to say to you know, for how I feel and in that particular moment, and I move on. That's how I process. So what do I want? Gosh, I wish I could talk to someone that got what I was going through. Someone that could just give you that peace, that calmness, that, you know, I want to take that swim in the lake, was that the Lake of Minnetonka someplace? I forgot what that Prince saying was.
You got it. It's Lake Minnetonka, and your homage to Prince is well noted, dear. Wow, too much. So, okay. So right now in your life, would you say that you're in a good place in terms of your wants and needs with regard to relationship? And here's why I asked this. The premise that we've been working on in this idea, last week, I had someone on the show, and he wrote a book, and the name of the book was Am I a Good Father? And he went through all of the things that he went through on the show, all of the things that he had gone through in the course of his growth and relationships in order to raise the children, including celibacy, including taking care of him as a person before he moved forward into a relationship and the children are grown and so on and so forth. So usually my next show will come to me while I'm doing the actual show that I'm in. And it dawned on me that in listening to him, there are so many men that haven't achieved the level of success and the clarity that he has to write this book, to create a guidebook, if you will, that maybe I should reach out to them and look at the other side of this. Let's talk about or talk to the ones who are having issues right now, who feel that they're in failed relationships or who have had failed relationships and are looking to have a good one but just don't know how. And then you go through a series of uncovering the information and researching and just common knowledge and personal knowledge. And you put all of that together and you realize that in the many years that I've been interacting with men, a lot of them have not been whole. And that's why I've had issues in terms of staying in the relationship. Because you know me. Mm-hmm. You know what I come in with. Mm-hmm. You know how I come in to a relationship. And not a lot of men can handle that because, all right, let's take a look at the black man in this, the Cushite man in the American society right now. He's held down, has been held down over years. And we're talking outside of slavery. Now there's a type of social slavery. You've had incarceration, you've had drug interaction, you've had locking you into certain neighborhoods, locking you into certain personal ideals, like social ideals that have encumbered you from moving forward. Combine that with the social interaction or lack of social interaction or lack of social excel because of the aftermath of slavery, the lack of generational wealth that other people come into a situation with, which is really the basis for their education. Because of that generation wealth, people have been able to go to school. We haven't been able to go to school. We haven't been able to go to college. So many components. Then just being a person of color, a man of color, you're constantly on a daily basis barraged by all of these things and you're beat up. Then to have a woman who her mentality is trained to believe the hype of what's going on or what's being fed to her, because that's how the system is set up for us to absorb all of the crap that's being said that people believe about us. We start to believe it about our man. He ain't no good. He's lazy, won't get a job. Sometimes it's not that he won't get a job. He can't get a job because what he's qualified for, they don't even allow him to do. You're totally disabled.
You know something really funny about that statement? I remember when McDonald's did not want me to fry their fries when I was out of work. They did not trust me to fry their fries. Costco did not want to put me on the register. And all I wanted to do was work.
Well, okay. People are afraid of you. I mean, they can't see you, and that's on purpose because you wanted to do an audible. And I said, no, take the lights down and let's just do an intimate conversation. You are a 6'4", easy over 250. You're a man's man. You are what the Cushite man is supposed to look like. You are what every Black woman would go, dang! But you scare society because when they look at you, we see kings, we see strength, we see dominance, we see control, we see intelligence, we see, oh my God, I can submit to this man. But they're afraid. Society is afraid. You walk down the street, people cross. No matter how intelligent you look, no matter how well shaven and the glasses and the sports jacket and the cars, and no matter what you do, you ensue fear from society because everything that we could be, everything that every Black man should be, everything that every Black man should aspire to, you carry in your genetic code and you wear it on the outside of your sleeve. And that says to them, oh shit, we got to watch out for this one. So you inspire fear. So they're going to work extra hard to hold your behind down. Now,
Yeah.
I've said all of that to say this. If women understood that and grasped that whole thought, and some of us do, and there's sisters like me who we know how to stand behind and hold up that backbone. But Z, not everybody like you. We've been together for years. We're pushing triple digits now, double digits now. Not every man can handle the type of thread that we have. Because when you needed a minute, I said, come over here, sit down, relax, I got you.
Mm-hmm.
And you took that minute, you rejuvenated yourself, you rebuilt, and you gave me a kiss on the head and said, thank you, mama, I got this. I was like,
That was a wonderful time.
but you were at peace and you were having fun and you were learning and you were doing and you were creative. And if we just back off of y'all and let you do what you do, but like I said, not every man is like you, because most men put in that situation that I just described, they have a hard time with it. Well, what do you want? And I got to pay me. What do I want? I want you to succeed. What do you have to pay me? Go out there and be somebody. Be the best somebody that you can be. Because if you're not going to be with me, you're going to be a hell of a man for another sister who deserves you. But at least I know you know what that woman should look like. You know that that woman is there. It's just not a fantasy because she exists, because you've lived through it. So maybe that was a little more personal than I would have liked to have gotten in this interview, but maybe it's necessary because we talk about these things that people don't think that they exist up to this day.
They do exist. They do exist.
Men bucket, your brother's bucket. I can't, you know what I'm talking about. I can't take that from you. And you make me feel less than I'm supposed to be. Okay, so I'm sorry. If I can't be the one to be there for you and be supportive, and these are actually the things that men are asking for when I ask this question. They want companionship, they want support, they want respect, they want to feel loved. All of those things are what we were just talking about, but you don't want me to have you feel inferior because the ideals that you have in your head of your lack of success are preventing you from letting me help you get to that success. Did that make sense what I just said?
That lash out that some men would give underneath that particular context is they know that if you love them, you're not going to go anywhere, but you are the first person that they can I guess lash out at, but you're supposed to be forgiving of them for lashing out to you because they know they cannot do that to the rest of the world because they feel they're intimidated by the rest of the world, but the one person that loves them is the person that they feel they can lash out at, because at the end of the day, you're gonna forgive them anyway. You're supposed to forgive them. I'm sorry, you're supposed to forgive them. So that lashing out is instead of taking personal responsibility, sitting down, humbling, and learning that from another avenue, another source, a good person that has your best interest at hand, they are lashing out because, again, you're supposed to forgive them. It doesn't make it right. It doesn't make it right at all. But it's one of those things where they got to learn. They got to get over that. I tell women, do not marginalize yourself for other people's comfort. And if that man does not recognize how great you are, then maybe he doesn't deserve to be your man. Maybe that's not the person that you put your efforts into if he can't appreciate what you are giving him. If he can't appreciate what doors you are putting in front of him, all he has to do is simply just turn the knob and look on the other side to see if that is a direction that he wants to go in. Oh my goodness, a woman like you, a woman that you've just described is like printing your own money, and it gets better year after year after year. You learn so much year after year after year. And that partnership, builds the relationship year after year after year. As long as we continue to keep putting goals in front of us, those goals can be anything, whether if it's travel, whether if it's financial, whether if it's additional income, or what they say, the whole type thing. Well, we're trying to build nations. It is with the right partner, you can do anything. The popular phrase, I need a Michelle. Everybody wants to, Michelle Obama. I want to, roll over next to somebody, look into their eyes, and they're like, "You could be a president." And I'll be like, "Yeah," So, yeah, it's a two-way street that having a good woman, but also knowing a man that he has a good woman that he can humble himself to understand that he can always learn something new. And when you have that type of support, yeah, you can print your own money at that point, because there's nothing you can't do.
And I can hear our audience going, why are the two of you not together? Well, okay, family, since you figured that out, the reason that the two of us are not together is because I saw that he needed to be doing something 100% on his own, and he was ready and needed to do it in a total different place. He didn't need to be in New York City. In fact, he didn't even need to be on this continent. And I cared about him enough to say, "You're amazing, you're spectacular, go." Because caring about and loving somebody also means letting them do what they need to do for them. And it's all good, because you see that we're still right here. Anyway, Z, you're awesome. You're amazing. I love you to life. Thank you so much for taking the time to be here.
No, thank you for having me. Until our next conversation. Bye.
All right, listen, stop it. All right, I will talk with you next week as normal. Don't get into any trouble. Wait, is there anything that you want to tell your brothers that will kind of help them along the way? I mean, you've said so much, but any one thing that you want to leave with them?
Oh, no, I'm good. For right now, I'm good. Until next time.
All right. Okay. All right. We'll talk next week.
Later, love.
All right, sweetie.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Family, we have a new Zoomer, and his name is Jamal. So Jamal, you're joining us on screen, which is really special. Thank you so much. And we're inviting you to answer the question this evening. What do men want? What do you want?
Technically speaking, you would think it's a really complex question, right? Because for the most part, this is the thing that everybody's looking to figure out, and but it's not. Most people, men or women, just want peace of mind. Now, you can add a lot of other things after that, but peace of mind is where it starts. Me personally, I'd like not just peace of mind, but a sense of adventure, a sense of belonging, well-warranted attention, right? Not to be taken for granted. But I like to be accepted as is and not for the possibilities or the potential, which is where a lot of people go left.
Explain,
So
please.
most people get into relationships, or at least my experience has been, a lot of people that I've seen that I know get into relationships and they kind of rush over what's in front of them. I mean, you may like some of the physical characteristics, you may like, a sound, a voice, a look, or, something of that nature. But then when you start thinking long-term, you're thinking about the possibilities. You start thinking about the potential that this person has. Oh, they could become, or, I know I don't like this about them, but I can get them to change, or it'll be fine, and and I think that's where things go left, right? Because there's no guarantees. We don't know what's going to happen tomorrow. And you're already planning out a future and willing to commit to a future based on something that's happening entirely inside of your head. You haven't even spoken to the other person to see if that's even where they want to go. But you're looking at the potential and what you think you can bring out of this person or bring to the table. And I think that's where a lot of things go left. I think if I have to accept you as is, I bought you like it's a car, right? I got you as is. There's no warranty. There's no guarantees. There's no, whatever I want to do, I can tweak it. I can upgrade it. I'm going to have to put the blood, sweat, and tears in. I got to do the oil changes. I got to do the maintenance. I got to make sure I do the upkeep, whatever. But there's no guarantees that this car is going to become race-worthy. There's no guarantees that this car is going to become much better unless, I put the work in and the car is, able to accept the changes or the fixes that I'm trying to put in.
Does that stem from the fact that people just are rushing into things, or do you think that people, as couples, don't take the time necessary?
But that's been for a long time. We don't know what courting is. Nobody courts. People go from dating, like, oh, you liked me, you poked me on Facebook, we shared a drink, to, okay, we got comfortable in 2 dates and now we're a couple. Nobody said anything. Nobody's asked a question. Nobody shared oh yeah, by the way, so what do you want to do and what are you looking for? We just got comfortable with each other and immediately said, oh, well, we're a couple because we've gone out on 2 dates and we're comfortable with each other. So,
and I find that that's correct within the last 15 to 20 years, because you say, you said nobody dates, nobody knows what
they date, they don't
courting
court.
is.
Yeah, they don't court. Yeah.
But I think our generation was the last generation of that did courting, that exchanged letters and gifts and went out and actually spoke and had time to talk to each other and so on.
Well, the reality is, let's be honest, everything has changed, right? Our generation happens to be one where everything has evolved in our lifetime, like literally in our lifetime. We went from writing cursive, learning to write cursive and reading analog clocks, right, in school, to an age where kids may not even learn how to type because they can do it on their phone. They can talk to their phone. You don't have to learn how to drive if you get a car that's, self-driving. You don't have to learn how to cook if you can always call Uber Eats. I don't know anybody. I know very few people who can hunt or fish or do anything else that would be self-sustaining. Like my job, part of my job is because people have kind of forgotten the old ways. They've been in such a rush to embrace the new that they've never taken the time to appreciate what was. And that goes the same way for relationships. If you think about our generation, and honestly, I'm probably going to go throw back. The baby boomers, right, were probably the last ones who really appreciated what a career was. They were the last ones to really consider, I'm going to put, unless you're a civil servant or military, that's different. But outside of those two groups, they were the last ones to think, I'm going to give 20 years or 30 years to a single job. I'm going to put 20 years and get the pen and the gold watch or whatever, retire and be good. I'm going to work 30 years at this factory. I'm going to do 20 years as a postal employee. I'm going to do 20. Like I said, it's different when you're civil service. When you think about civil service, because that's almost the appeal for civil service, right? You don't have to look for a job. You have that, solid foundation and that studying. It's almost like being a teacher. Like, unless you really screw up, for the most part, it's guaranteed and it's steady all the way across the board. But with relationship, it goes the same way. Who's looking? Everybody, we're in a gig economy right now, right? Where everybody's looking at, what is my new hustle? I'm going to do Uber. Yeah, I may have a 9-to-5, but I do Uber Eats. Yeah, I do 9-to-5, but now I do DoorDash. Yeah, I do 9-to-5, but I'm a karaoke DJ on the side, or I sell Avon, or I sell whatever. Doesn't make a difference. Everybody's in a hustle. Everybody's in a here now, immediate gratification mode. Everybody wants it here and now, and nobody's willing to put the time in to invest and build and let it grow and let it become something, whatever it's going to be. You want it. I want the full potential right here, right now. I press a button and it should come out ready immediately. I shouldn't have to cook the food. All I should have to do is say I want it, and it should show up 5 minutes from now, ready, prepared, and presentable. And
understood.
That's the mindset. Why would I write a letter to you if I can tweet you under 160 characters, and now I don't even have to use words, I'll use emojis. We're dating now because I use the emojis. I gave you a hug, a heart, dropped an eggplant or two, and all of a sudden we are now a couple. So
it's sad, but this is so true. But Jamal, what do we do? How do we get back? And I'm asking you because you're a brother that I know has the answers, because this is something that you have thought about. So tell your brothers, tell the sisters who are listening, what you feel about this whole situation, because they don't know, they don't realize that there are brothers like you that are still out there. They think they've given up on looking for brothers like you. And brothers who are like you are tired and they feel beat up. And so give them a word of encouragement and tell the sisters, here I am. All right. Tell me what you want. Tell me what you want. Don't generalize. Don't take it to the public. Tell me what you want. What makes a relationship? How do you get to that relationship that you want?
Honesty. Start off honest. Most people fake it. Like, most people start, like, you've been taught and conditioned to lie. You've been taught and conditioned to lie up front. You become what they need you to be till you get in the door, and then become who you really are. Well, that kind of sucks, because I don't want the avatar. Like, that's who I fell in love with. Like, don't show up and every time I see you, you're in heels and a skirt and always, looking cute with your hair and everything done did. And the moment we get into a relationship, every time I see you, you're in sweats and I'm not saying that's a bad thing. I'm not saying you shouldn't be comfortable. But the thought process is, well, you kind of made me accustomed to thinking that I'm going to get they sent the representative. Like, that's who. I'm sorry. Listen, this is Sweats You. Listen, Sweats You, I appreciate you. Call me when the representative comes back out. I'm gonna wait.
But if you take the time to march through the relationship and find a friendship, you'll get all of the sides. You'll get the beach girl.
Something, I agree with you. You're absolutely correct. But the problem is, again, most people aren't taking that time. Most people aren't taking that. To be honest with you, there are so many things that happen. And like I said, I don't even know if I can necessarily say I blame anyone, right? There's no one to blame, because a lot of this is just evolution. It's literally just the way the times have changed. Listen, we used to appreciate an album, right? Because there was no quick, let me jump to my quick song, right? If I had an album, I had 12-inch, right? I got the 45 so I could hear that single. If I wanted to hear that song over and over again, I had to pick it up, drop it back to the front, and hear that song over and over again. If it was an album, if it was a full 12-inch album and I wanted to hear it, I had to stop in the middle and bring it back and make sure I hit that thing, right? But it took time and it was a little investment. I had to get up and do it. I couldn't just press a button. And then we went from there to cassettes. And even with a cassette, same thing, right? If I wanted it, if I wanted to just rewind, I bought the single, but I had to still hit rewind, right? Then we went to CDs. Now CDs made it easy. Hold on a second, hold up. Oh, wait a minute. Now I can hear my Anita Baker and I just hit the loop and I'll hear Angel all day, right? Or Caught Up in a Rapture all day. Bing, 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 bing. Oh, there it goes. And then we've been conditioned. That conditioned us and trained us to say, we don't have to get up anymore. We don't have to do that extra step anymore. And so now, think about it. We don't even like albums anymore, right? I just want to stream the thing I want to stream. Listen, as somebody who's a DJ, right? It's one of the things that I used to love and hate because I used to love when as a DJ, I was the person who would introduce you to music. Now, as a DJ, my job is to make sure that I can stream or meet or match the level of whatever you're used to streaming. You're hearing exactly what you want because you put your playlist together. So, I mean, I've gone to events where they're like, listen, could you just kind of play this and then this, like in this order, because this is like my favorite mix. I'm like, I just play the mix. Give me the mix. You just rented out my PA system. I'm fine with that. Cool. I'll play your mix. Just give me your mix. I don't. Why am I going to play live? You know what you want, and there's nothing else to it. So, but as far as the relationships, as far as the couples, and as far as advice as to what I can say or what I can give or offer to the men and the women that are out there, be honest. Don't show up with your avatar. Show up who you are. Because if this is who you're really going to be 98% of the time, that's who I need to see. I'm not going to go hunting, right? Because that's what we usually do, right? We go hunt. We go, women get dolled up, guys, well, maybe. Nowadays, you can just send me an IG or a TikTok. It might be something different. But women used to get dolled up and guys used to, have to clean up a little bit, right? And it wasn't just a, instant gratification thing, but there's so many low-hanging fruit now. Who wants to go climb to the top of the tree? Who wants to get that golden apple at the top when I'm walking over, I'm stumbling past, I'm getting hit in the face with all the other low-hanging fruit? So why put the effort out? My thought process is that the best information I can say, the best thing I can share is be honest from the gate. From the gate. I do not live a normal lifestyle. Most people who know me know that off the rip, especially if you're going to know me at that level. I don't live a normal lifestyle. I do a lot of things differently and outside of the box.
Are we going to talk about that?
We can talk about it. I don't have a problem with it. But I'm saying my thing is most people who know me know I don't live a normal lifestyle. But it's not because a shock and awe factor, right? Like, oh my God, what is he doing? He's a freak. I don't broadcast it, but I don't hide it either. You ask me about it, I'm going to tell you about it, and I'm fine with it because it's my lifestyle. And
well, there may be some family members listening who might be curious or interested in that. That's why it said, are we going to talk about that?
So I'm going to get into that right now. So first and foremost, being honest is one thing, right? And honesty starts with yourself. Honesty starts with being honest with the person in the mirror. Because if you're getting cute and dolled up, or the guys, like if you suddenly showing up in hard bottoms and a button up, whatever, and you're really a jeans and a print t-shirt kind of dude, things are going to give way really, really quickly. Because once again, it's the lie, right? You made it look good, so I would fall for you, and then you gave me the okie doke, and I'm like, I don't know who I'm sleeping with. That I feel the same way about. And ladies, please don't take this personal. And I appreciate them. I do the lashes and the wigs and the oh my God, the push-up bras.
Here we go.
Oh my God. And we got hips and booties that come with the pants and the skirts. Now, I get it. I understand. And it's all to appeal to a very, very visual, mindset, right? But at the end of the day, anybody remember I'm Going to Get You Sucker? I do not want to wake up in bed and not know who the hell are you and how'd you get in it? Like, I don't want to do it. It's not who I am. It's not what I'm about. So It may work for some people, and it works for a lot of people, which is why wigs and all that stuff is a multi-billion-dollar, industry. But at the end of the day, just be who you really, really are. Like you'd be amazed at how much life tends to change and become so much better and easier. You're free. You're free. Being honest makes you very, very free. And freedom is something that most people don't even really understand. Like freedom, I don't have to look over my shoulder and figure out, oh my God, what did I tell them? Or what do they think? Or what did I lead them to believe? Or no, I'm just who I am. I have a lot of wonderful, and I mean absolutely wonderful, smart, intelligent, beautiful, gorgeous, enterprising women that are my friends now, right? That are in my life or that have been in my life, and with the expectation that there might have been something more. And they were like, "Yo, I can't get with your lifestyle," and I was like, "Okay, cool, I'm good with that." But it wasn't afterwards. I didn't let them. It wasn't that, oh my God, we're gonna fall in love, and now I'm stuck because I really love you, but I can't deal with this. Is this a deal breaker? And then you go through all that tension and unnecessary. Like, who has time for that? Listen, some people do, but I don't. So,
Okay, so I have to
I'm
give
gonna
you
say
a
it now.
slight interruption there, because that's the segue into a lot of women are going, what the hell is he talking about?
And here we go.
There you go.
So, first and foremost, let's start off with, I am polyamorous. Polyamorous means that I date more than one person. No, it doesn't just mean that I date more than one person. I engage in relationships with more than one person simultaneously. Now, there are a lot of different ways you can be polyamorous. Polyamory is really kind of a really, really large umbrella term, and it could actually, it could encompass a lot of different things. Most people think of polyamory, and if I say I'm dating more than one person, oh, I'm just cheating, I'm a dog. No. Anybody I'm dating knows I'm dating other people. Matter of fact, they probably know the other people that I'm dating, because if we're dating one, odds are that some way, shape, or form we're going to affect each other, even if we're in parallel poly, right? And parallel poly means two separate relationships where they don't cross, they don't meet, the only thing in common is the one person who is the poly, but they're aware of each other. There's no, you have the triangles that people are aware of, right? Where, you get somebody, and since I'm a hetero man, it'll be a bisexual woman and another one, two bisexual women and myself. So, okay, there you have a triangle. You can have a quad, right? Because most men have a tendency to be really, really ego driven, and they find it very, very hard to have another man involved in a relationship with somebody they care about, because we've been conditioned in the Eurocentric this Eurocentric way of things, which means that it's either all or nothing. I have to have it all for myself, right? And that's really not the way a lot of us, especially brown people, that's not the way we really get down. It's really, really not. I can really get into that, but if you think about it, I'm going to say this really, really quickly, and I'll get back to poly.
Well, I promised that I was going to give all of my Zoomers 15 minutes, and I knew you were going to go over your time.
Okay, so I'm going to shut up.
No, say the last piece, because I don't want to leave them hanging with this whole polyamory idea.
So I'm polyamorous, and I'm also dom. I'm also a dominant. So I do practice BDSM. I do enjoy a lot of different things, and so I don't know if everything necessarily has a name or a title, but I'm free to live and explore, and I'm free because I've picked, I've been true. So any partners who are going to be involved with me are aware of it, and they can say whether they want to be part of the adventure or not. So
on a final note, and thank you for giving us all of that, because again, I want them to realize that all of these components exist. Some people have, for the first time, heard the terminology that you just used.
Okay.
And the show is about exposure. The show is about expanding ideas, and the show is about bringing people into themselves. So perhaps someone will ask about that later on and I'll be able to tune them into you. But coming back to the original question as
Yes.
to the idea of what does a man need in a relationship, I want to ask you one question. With everything that you have said, you spoke about the golden apple. Why would anybody have to climb to the top of the tree to get the golden apple when there's so much low-hanging fruit at this
Right.
juncture?
Right.
Is there a golden apple aspiration for you eventually?
Oh, well, it's not even so much eventually. I don't like the low-hanging fruit. A low-hanging fruit's nice to look at, but that's not, listen, what you realize is sometimes you get what you kind of get what you work for. If I give you money, you're going to throw it or blow it, right? You don't really care because at the end of the day, I gave it to you. You didn't earn it. You didn't work for it. If you worked for that money and I gave you that check, your paycheck, oh, that's different because you know you earned it, right? It means something different. It hits different because you earned it and you know this is something that you deserve, right? So, you know, me lucking out and finding somebody that, oh my God, look at her, she's amazing, you know, whatever. Yes, am I gonna, well, look, both of my heads are sitting up looking proper, right? Because it's like, this looks good to me, right? This appeals. But at the end of the day, you know what I'm saying? I mean, technically speaking, everybody's about the instant gratification. So it's all about eye candy now. So eye candy is not healthy. Eye candy is not good for you. I mean, it may satisfy a quick urge, but can it stand the distance? And realistically, that's when you start realizing, hey, listen, I'm getting a gut. I need to eat better. You know, I'm getting fillings. I might want to stop eating all this junk. You know, I'm you know, it's you learn, and some of it comes with maturity. Some of it just comes with experience, right? Some of it just comes with being in the right circles. I really feel like if you hunt for something, you're never going to find what you're looking for. I feel like if you exist in your reality, that's when you'll see that whatever you were looking for is already around you, or you'll walk into it, or you may be exposed to it here on, you know, because you're in a circle of people who are thinking at least along those lines. You're thinking about people who are going to be, if you're a book smart type person, you like hang out in libraries and Barnes and Nobles and things of that nature, guess what? Odds are you're going to meet somebody that you're really going to like, who's going to be like you, because if you're in the libraries and the bookstores and stuff like that, that's where the person who's going to have something in common with you is.
That's interesting. Very true.
For a bar and you don't go to bars, that's not, I mean, you go to a bar, you met your man I met my girl at the bar, so now, you know, oh, now we're a couple. You ain't supposed to go to the bar anymore. Well, that's why I met you. So when did we stop going to
When
bars?
did that change?
When did that change?
Exactly.
So
I get it. All right. Well, Jamal, Ali, thank you so much. It's always lovely speaking with you. It's always interesting, if nothing else.
Are you not entertained? I've done my job. Are you not entertained?
Oh my gosh. You know, you're dear to me. Thank you so much for listening. Thank you so much for calling in. I appreciate you.
No problem.
Always wonderful to know that you're out there. And we got to do a show on you because I want to come up and do the survival training and see what you're into and have our family be exposed to that, because you know what, you need to know how to take care of yourself in the event of. So
we can definitely talk about.
We need to talk about that. Let's do a show.
Community.
All right, with your little beach setting, I want to go get in my swimsuit and go play in your background.
You don't wear a suit at the beach. Stop playing around.
It's always good to see you, dear.
All right, take care.
So, family, our next caller on the line is Ra. Ra, good evening. How are you?
Hello, how you doing? I'm good.
Wonderful, wonderful. So, Ra, you've been listening to the conversation, and if I'm not mistaken, you actually were one of the people who engaged in the conversation when I had the poll up online. So you're familiar with the next question. The next question is, what do our men need from us? So that's the initial question to bring you in. What do you guys need from us?
That's you know what, that is in a way it's a simple question but a complex question at the same time, because on a whole as men there's one answer. On a whole, as Black men is another answer, and as the individual, there's another answer. So the answer, simply in my opinion, what do we need from our women? Mutual respect and admiration.
Mm-hmm.
That I would say, to sum it up, that's what we need.
Okay, so mutual respect and admiration. And you, in the beginning, said that there are three aspects that you could answer from. One as being a man, one as being a Black man, and one as being you. So here's the answer that I want, because I'm not interested in you being a man in the collective. I'm interested in two things. I can only speak on or speak to the things that I know. I want the Asiatic response to this, and then I want the you, Ra, who is a man who has been alive for, I understand you're over 40, 45. So you've been here long enough to be in relationships, to have interactions with women outside of your mother and your sisters. I want to know what you think. I want to know what you feel. You got 15 minutes, go.
All right. So we know the system is geared for us to fail. We know that the system is stacked against us automatically out the womb. So we need that extra support from us. We need to understand it. You know, just kind of say like, listen, we understand that it's extra hard for you guys out here. That's what we need. As an individual, I go back to my original answer, mutual respect and admiration. Me personally, I've been in relationships, and I find that honesty and just that mutual respect is what makes the relationship work. If you don't have that mutual respect, the relationship is not going to work. No one wants to be with somebody that doesn't respect them.
Okay. So, Rod, let me ask you a question if I can. Actually, I'm going to read you a statement. We must collectively decide for ourselves through our conversations, not through arguments. As men and women of color, we are coming into a place in our journey where we must do what is needed in order to unite our family unit as well as our communities. History has shown us and taught us the negative side. How long will we allow it to control what we need to do for our future and the future of our children? It's a difficult task, but one that needs to be taken seriously. Kushat man wants to be king of his castle, as he should want to be king of his castle, but the truth is that he does not know how. Our women are so busy being the man in the situation, not prepared to give up or throw it to the wind, especially to a man who is not prepared or has not done the work to know how to maintain all of this. This is not his fault. It was part of the design of the construction of our current society to build a division and create a disrespect between him and her. We know something needs to be done to correct this situation. So tell me, how long are we going to just talk about it, fight about it, instead of being about it, as we are suffering and then dying because of it? We can't just stand still and take a good look at this anymore. We have to get up and look at each other and understand the power that we have in order to correct and alter this situation significantly. Now, in hearing that statement, is that something that you would agree with in a general sense?
Yes, I would agree. I would agree 1,000%. Yes.
Okay. So you understand historically that the Black man has been, or the Cushite man has been, the design of his failure has been written into the plan.
Yes.
All right. So how do we address this? How do we, because this is based on what you're saying that you want from the woman in your life. You want a mutual and respect. You want an admiration. We want to admire you and we want to respect you, which is what I think a lot of men don't realize. They think we're running game, but not every woman has game. Not every woman is in it for the rock, or not every woman is in it for the dollar sign. There are sisters out here who really want to do right by their men and stand behind them and hold them up. So what do you say to those sisters that are willing to stand behind you? How are you willing to alter who you are? Because we also have to understand we're not perfect.
Right. Honestly,
So,
the first step is the first step in changing always is with yourself. So the Black man has to, one, acknowledge on a hold of the issue and want to change themselves.
mm-hmm.
And the difficult part is unplugging ourselves from the system that we're in mentally to say, all right, I want to improve. I want to change. I want to be that person that I want others to see me as.
Mm-hmm.
So that's the first step, is to get brothers to believe in themselves.
Do you believe in yourself?
I believe I do.
Okay.
You know, I got flaws, but I believe that I do.
Okay.
I try my best. I try my best.
So let me shift gears ever so slightly, because a large amount of the difficulties that women have with men is with regard to the family and the children. What do you say to your brothers who are not taking care of their kids? And when I say not taking care of their kids, I'm not speaking just on the child support issue, because raising a child is not just about dollars and cents. And we as women know that. The thing is that sisters tend to drive for that because they know that men are not going to be there for anything else. So they figure, at least let me get the funds and I'll be able to pay somebody to do other things. But for the man, once again, because we're looking at healing, for the man who wants to be there, how do you speak to her? How do you speak to your brothers about being there for their kids? Because there's a whole generation that's growing up without fathers. And I hear all of these men talking about, yeah, I want to do the right thing. Yeah, I want to be the king of my castle. But you have to take care of you have to know how to take care of the castle before you can be king of it, right?
That's correct. I tell them, I would definitely tell the brothers, listen, do what you need to do to be in your children's life. This young generation now they have very little guidance. And sad to say, I feel like the generation I came in, like I'm 48, the generation I came in, we really dropped the ball on parenthood and raising our kids. We're not in our kids' lives or try to, the majority, I'm not gonna say all of us, but the majority of us wanted to be the friend opposed to the parent. I used to say this in the past. It was literally like my generation got to a point and said, well, forget everything that we learned before us. We're gonna do this differently. And now this era of where the parent is the friend and not really the parent is crazy.
Mm.
So I definitely would tell the brothers, you know, get in your children's lives, or if you're not ready to have children, don't do it.
Speaking of which, do you have children?
No, I do not.
Oh, okay. Do you plan to have children?
Not at my age.
I'm
Not at my
getting,
age.
I'm sorry, I'm getting all up in your business, but you know, hey, ESP, what can I say? Okay, so you're in a relationship though.
Yes, I am. Yes, I am.
Okay. Is your relationship, how is your relationship? Are you in a good relationship, bad relationship? How's things going?
I'm in a good relationship. I'm happy. In a good place. A lot better than I would say previous situations.
Okay, what does that mean? All right, you opening doors for the nonsense now. What did that mean?
No, I came out of and I'll be honest about I came out of a what I call an abusive relationship. I was married to a passive narcissist. And I dealt with a lot of mental abuse. I didn't realize what it was until after I was already out of the situation.
Wow.
9 years. Passive narcissist and a serial liar and serial cheater.
Wow. Okay, wait, you should have led with that. Well, okay. Wow. So, you know what? Do you mind if I ask a little bit more about that? I mean, it kind of connects to what we're saying, or we can make it connect.
You can ask.
Okay, so what I understand the serial liar, narcissistic, usually. Okay, how about this? You tell me. I'm not going to draw any conclusions. What was the worst part of the whole experience for you?
The worst part of the experience was the zero accountability. Refusing their role and what they played in the situation, and the lack of empathy and the lack of remorse.
Mm-hmm. Mm.
And it's funny because honestly, I didn't even know of the word narcissist until I got out of the situation. I didn't know anything about it. Didn't have any understanding of that type of mentality. Mm-hmm. And it was actually when I had gotten out of the situation, I had a conversation with a friend of mine who said to me, a very good sister I know, said to me, hey, I was telling them about what I had went through, and they said, hey, your ex-wife sounds like my ex-husband. And the way it went about it, said they sound like a passive narcissist.
And we are back, and that was powerful. Very powerful stuff.
We have so much work to do as a people, as men and women. My heart goes out to these men. I'm speechless with some of the things that I'm hearing. I know that they're happening, especially with Ra. And how are you in a marriage for 9 years and you can't figure out that she is a narcissistic, passive aggressive until you get out of the marriage? You didn't know that you were living in that all of that time and you were just trying to be the best person that you could be? My heart aches for that young man. Anyway.
Well, it's unfortunate because when we're in a situation, our blinders are definitely on. People outside of your situation can pinpoint everything, but we cannot see it until we are ready to see it. And I think one of the main things that I took away from this is it all boils down to communication. Communication. You gotta have it.
And you know what? In order to have communication, the big thing is patience. You can't fly off the handle at every little thing. Mama used to say,
I was about to break out in song, but I'm not gonna do it. What your mama used to say?
That's why I had to stop, because I was gonna laugh and I had to catch myself, and you made me laugh anyway, because that's what you do.
You heard it. You heard it. You have to say it. You heard it. What
She
your mama
said,
used to say?
You don't have to respond to
Take your
everything
time,
that
young
you
man.
hear. You that too.
It comes
No,
up, it
listen,
comes out.
listen. Seriously. One of the children got married this past year. And when I made my speech, my toast at the end of, at the reception, I bought a clothespin, the clothespins that you hang, the old fashioned clothespins, the wooden ones.
The big ones.
The ones that you hang clothes out on the line when we were kids. And I bought a pair of earplugs that you have in the airplane. And I said to him and her, I said, listen, this is the core of marriage right here.
I get the earplugs, but
the clothespin.
Gotcha.
It's not everything that's said that you have to respond to. And it's not everything that you hear that you got to jump on. Okay? I'm going to give you a little joke. My father and my mother used to talk about this all the time. God rest her soul. She lived all the way up into her 90s, and this would keep her going with these little stories. And she used to tell me, I never told your father what I wanted. I never argued with him. I wait till I went to sleep. And when I was younger, and she would say these things, I was like, you wait till you went to sleep. She said, it wasn't until I was in my 30s that she really explained to me what she meant. She would pretend to sleep and then pretend to talk in her sleep. So anything that she wanted him to know, she would say out loud in her sleep. That way there was no argument. She was sleeping. He wasn't going to wake her up and say, what did you say? But sure enough, I bet you when she got up the next day or 2 days later, whatever she talked about in her sleep was there.
Subliminal messaging.
Well. And I would often ask her, how did you know that he was awake enough to hear? She said, I would jump up down on the bed and make sure that he woke up, and then I'd pretend to talk in my sleep. That's too much work. Y'all just have some patience, sit down, and talk to each other face to face. These issues can be resolved. This is what hurts my heart, Jax. We're not far away from the resolution. We have to get to the point where we can work together as a family unit, because that family unit has to venture out into the village. And then that village has to join and be a community. And that community is what is the core of making the changes that we need in order to move forward. Trust me, this is going to be a good summer for us. Anyway, Jackson OG. What else do we got, or we're tying this up?
I think we have covered the grounds today, and we probably need to release the family so that they can let this kind of sink in and know what they need to do in the future. So it's a good show, and always happy to be here with you. And that's all.
Thanks so much. I think next week we need to do the research and get into this tax credit thing. So look out for that, because that's an important show. We need to bring that to you. And we'll do something more springy, because it's spring, it's warming up. But in the meantime, in between time, Say good night, Jax.
Good night, Jax.
We'll see you next time on ESP and Jax Speaks, everybody. Have a good one.
Good night.